Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Brown County Commission to order. Commissioner Bowman, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first on the agenda, 8:45, we've got the County Treasurer's Office and fair tickets. How are you ladies today?
Okay, super. In a conversation with Chris White about the fair ticket money still not being put into the revenue accounts, he advised us to get on the agenda and come and get that resolved before we start selling the 17s, because we need to push that money into revenue where it belongs.
So it's in
3
Treasurer's
months
Trust?
now, yes.
What's your amount?
$565,619.10.
Okay. Derek, how are we coming on report?
Well, here's where we sit today. I'll pass along to everybody. We had talked about the audit trail of not following established procedures and how that impacts the audit process. So here's a summary list of each of the outlets, along with their shortages and where we sit today. There have been reports given in the past, most recently as August 2nd for June and July, which were disputed by the Treasurer as not being accurate. But as this overall report will show you, it's hard to be completely accurate when the numbers that are inputted into the system aren't done so accurately. So this is where we stand right now. As far as the Ken's audit, we're $206.04 off. Kessler's, we're
4 or 40?
40 cents. Kessler's is $446.19. Dakota Bank is $55. Hitchin Post is actually over, but that's due to grandstand donations. Theirs was actually dead on. So the total discrepancy right now for exterior outlets is $671.59. When we met last week, I had reported that initial number was about $1,300. We could get it down to $9, and then over the course of the last week, we were able to get it down to $651. The week of sales were off by
651 or 671?
671, sorry, $671.59.
Okay, thanks.
And then the week of sales, you'll see that we're off by $1,859. What you'll find behind stapled is a breakout of each individual outlet with their corresponding date of sale, what the system is showing that was sold due to following no less than 4 steps in the process to complete the sale versus what was reported. And you'll also see any credits that may have been applied based on mistakes that we found that could be explained. There's one on, we'll look at the first one. You'll actually have 2 for the week of. Those are going to correspond to the report that was given initially to the Commission for the week of sales compared against the system as it stood. That would be the second one. The first one is going to be that same report, but allowing for the credits due to errors that we could find. So I'll point specifically to, let's say, day 1 on the 15th. There's a credit for daytime sales of $294. Sarah's was shown to be $297 short, but when you take that $297 and $294, it really was only short about $3. That could be a very simple mistake that can be explained due to incorrect change, things like that. So I don't think that that's too problematic. One of the things that complicated the process, if we look at 816, was the arbitrary decision to move to the paper tickets. Once we allowed for that, based on the report that we were given, which came much later than we anticipated, when we balanced that against what the system showed the difference to be, we're only off by about $92. Again, not overly concerning. I mean, I would still want to get to the bottom of that, but I think at this point, in the effort of moving forward, based on the total sales that you can see in that first column of over 7,300, I think we can move on from that. But we can continue to go down the line. On 819, Sarah shows a negative of 571. We can't easily explain this one because we can't go back and isolate when she actually started. And then based on conversations that were had most recently in a phone conference with Madam Commissioner and Commissioner Hanson, we ascertained that the auditor was selling under single IDs. for each computer as opposed to each individual ID, which makes the audit trail that much farther. But to be fair, when we did audit the first 2 days of sales, while they were using that same program, they were spot on. So I think if we go through their paperwork, we'll find that'll probably be the same. But the point is that when we don't follow these established policies, and there are 3 different protocols for how we're going to handle this, it makes the audit track process significantly harder. And if we're going to require an exact report to come out of the system, then we need to be exact in the data we put into the system.
Our problem was we were not given access to the reports. The only report we could print was mine. We talked about that multiple times, Derek.
We did, but that does not enter into the conversation of having all of your clerks sell under one seller ID.
I have to be able to balance my money every day.
It would actually be easier if everybody had their own individual ID, because you could compare that against the paper.
Not if you can't access the report.
You could only access your report for
Yes.
you couldn't access
No one else
the
could
other people?
access reports.
I'm not disputing the paper trail. What I'm saying is that everybody still should have sold under their own individual ID, regardless of the paper trail or not. In any retail organization, you would not allow somebody to sell under your ID for fear of if somebody was stealing, it would be hard to prove. They'd come after the person whose login was responsible for generating the sale.
I'll take that responsibility for my employees.
And it's pretty hard to criticize these people for being short or long when you didn't even show up to train them. I mean, I think they did remarkably well. They did.
I'm not disputing that they did remarkably well. I'm saying if you want pinpoint perfect reports, then the entry needs to be pinpoint and perfect.
I think we're going too far at this point. I mean, it's 3 months down the road. I'm sitting here with $565,000, telling me how many tickets were sold at 80, how many at 75, so on, and minus the refunds, minus the bank fees, and give me a bottom line. I mean, at this point, I don't care about that anymore. It's 3 months down the road, nobody remembers what they did. It's ridiculous. I mean, we need to get to the bottom of what is this $565,000 for. That's what I want.
An excellent point. Here's an email that was sent on August 2nd instructing you to do that exact thing with paying the sales tax and the appropriate reports for June and July.
We did the sales tax. We did it all, Derek. That's all done.
I was told sales tax had not been reported.
No, Rachel took care of it one time ago.
Remember we had the cheat sheet a month ago, last month?
That was a long time
I took all the
ago.
reports you gave us at the meeting in
That's all
October
done.
and did a one-page cheat sheet.
I
I
was
think
not
what
aware of that.
Sheila's wanting is just the ticket number, so if you have those reports,
To make it balanced to $565,000 so I can move it. I don't care.
can we take the reports from last month and make some type of a cheat sheet for her for that $565,000 that just says, this is the number of $80 tickets, this is the number of...
Minus the bank fees you paid, minus the show clips fees you paid, and this is the bottom line. At this point, I don't care what Stacy sold or when she sold it. I think those people did remarkable for what they were put into, and if they made some mistakes, so be it.
So you have the reports though, right, Sheila? You're just
No,
trying to...
I don't, I have nothing. I'm not allowed on that program. I want nothing to do with that. Just give me the numbers.
I'm not disputing the mistakes. What I'm saying is you want a perfect accounting of every ticket that was sold and the amount of money that's credited to it. And my point is that you can't have that unless you account for the mistakes. You can't have it both ways. Do you want the perfect number, or do you want...
Well, give me some numbers. I mean, I don't care. I don't care if they're not perfect. We'll attach this and say there were some mistakes made, but you got to give me a general idea of what this money's for. How many $80 tickets, how many $75 tickets, how many $60 tickets? That's what the state auditors look at, how many of each of these tickets. And then, plus you got 50 cents for each ticket sold, so that adds on to the revenue. And the county's share of the fees, that should be added on. And then we'll take off what we remitted already and what Evelyn charged and what ShowClick charged and what the refunds were, and we should get to darn close to the $565,619. We've got to move that money.
So are you saying if I provide you a report, including the errors, you're comfortable with moving the money even if it doesn't match?
I will be comfortable moving it based on your report, because that's what I will give to the state auditor.
The report's going to come out of the system.
Well, as long as it accounts for $565,619, I don't care what the report says.
It's going to show more than that.
So then you just have a note based on these discrepancies of why it's short, right?
Correct. Because what we had to do is we had to go back and look at each individual day. We had to go back and look at each individual clerk. And we had to go back and look at each individual report of what was given to us either by the outlet or by the individual person that was tracking. We then had to go back in and combine based on the outlets. We then had to go back and find out what the discrepancy was between what the outlet or the individual person giving us the reports that they sold and what the system said they sold. You create that delta difference. Once you find out what's short and long, then you have to go back into each individual seller to figure out if you can identify where that mistake occurred.
Right. Are you?
If I could interrupt for a minute, Derek, do you have a report that shows how many tickets were sold at each individual price?
We can print that right out of the system, yeah.
And
We can print that right now.
that's all she needs. That,
That's-
whatever that number is, that's the number that they will use.
Okay.
And if there's a difference of $900, we'll be off $900. When legislative audit comes in, they will say, how much are you off? We're off $900 due to any number of mistakes made by any number of people.
Right.
And they'll have to accept it because it is what it is. We're not going to find $900 4 months after the fact. So whatever that report is, Sheila will have to accept that. Am I right, Sheila?
That's all I want. I just
Which
wanna know
isn't perfect, but bearing in mind the fact that we had a new program, new people learning it, I mean, that's pretty darn good. I mean,
Yeah,
yes,
really,
we'd
no, I'm
like it to be
$900.
exactly
All I
on the-
want to do is move my money, and you got to give me something. And I guess my concern would be, I hope this is not going to be this complicated
moving
down the
forward.
road, because, my God, this is just crazy.
It's not complicated as long as people follow the procedures of daily audits, cash.
Well, then you have to find your people to run your program, because I'm not doing it.
I'm more than willing to do that.
Good.
And that, I think, could be a solution for next year, but for this year to close out this fair, to receipt the money and
Yes,
just
because we
provide
have to move
a report.
out of revenue before my tax
What it is.
prepayments come. We have such a mess if we don't straighten out this money.
Do we have internet access here?
Yes,
Okay, I'll print them out right now.
well,
So our total dollars were off at 671.59, Derek, if I'm correct?
For the individual outlets, and then week of sales were off by 1859, so you have to add these two numbers together. As far as the auditors, we don't know because of the single login, 5 clerks selling under a single or dual login. But as I said before, when we audited the first 2 days of sales, Max's numbers were spot on. So I don't expect that we're going to see a major discrepancy there.
So it looks like it'll be off by about $2,500 ballpark.
Yes, when you account for both. Yep.
so are you having problems with the reports that he's printing, differentiating what those say off show clicks to? I mean, those reports are kind of, you had mentioned, I don't need all this.
I don't go
just-
on show clicks at all. I don't know.
So when you print them, Derek, can you just highlight, this is ticket numbers, this is fees, and this
Everything
is
is-
the difference that will get us to that exact number?
Everything
So
is-
3 numbers.
Everything
Did
is-
you already do, when you did your cheat sheet, did you do all the fees for the entire fair?
I don't have it with me, so I'm not sure. It's whatever the copy I gave you for sales tax is what I have.
There's 2 separate breakouts. There's a line item for show clicks fees and there's a line item for credit card fees.
Because the fees are subject to sales tax, so if that includes fees, we have to,
There's a separate line item for fees.
right, but
So
she already
fees-
receipted in fees, so I was wondering if you already used the fees or not.
I believe whatever was needed for sales tax, I ran it by Derek, and we talked, and so I think whatever sales tax is good. I mean, whatever we had to report was in there. Okay, so you guys will meet, you're going to print them out right now and
Mhm.
highlight the ones that,
I'll come
and
back
it'll
in.
get us to that exact number with the discrepancies in it.
As far as the discrepancy, we're going to have to take what's in there, because short of going into every single record,
Which is fine, yep.
and here's the larger incident. I mean, even at the 2,600, multiply that out by 6%, your exposure's maybe, what, $140 for sales tax? So we're spending, well, I've spent 62 and a half hours just going through this and unspending the system, not counting all the other time that treasurer staff and auditor staff has put into this. So, if you want, we can get there, but that's going to take another 2 to 3 weeks if you want the exact ticket count to match up to the dollars.
I don't think we need that.
I don't think we do either, but, and we'll just have to
Doesn't the
revise the policy.
Showclicks report say how many tickets were sold, how many refunds were
Yes.
made?
It tells you everything. There's separate columns for tickets sold, refunds sold. The problem is when you make a mistake, and I'll use a specific example. It happened at every outlet and the week of sales, no exception, except Hitch and Post. Person comes in, they want a ticket. They want a general admission and a rodeo, or a general admission and a carnival. Clerk miskeys it, and sells them a ticket and a rodeo ticket instead of a package ticket and a carnival ticket. Runs the credit card. Customer doesn't see it until they get their receipt. Oh, I had a mistake, it was supposed to be XYZ. It's not reported to anybody at that point. The clerk refunds the credit card with the cash in the drawer and then makes a cash sale to satisfy the customer. Not uncommon, but now what you have is you've created a cash shortage in that because we've already received the money for the credit card, because that is non-refundable unless...
But isn't the credit card sale reversed?
It's not, because they've never reported that it needs to be reversed. There's only certain people that have the ability to refund a credit card because our tickets are non-refundable. When you open that ability to the general clerk in a retail environment, they're going to refund a ticket whether it's refundable or not. So to keep in line with the refundable aspect of the non-refundable aspect of the ticket, that should be held at a supervisor level to be able to make the call on the refund. It didn't happen a lot, but it happened about 9 times that we can establish. Not a fault of the clerk, not a fault of the customer. It was a simple error that was made, but it creates a double sale on the cash side. So you show 2 tickets being sold for the package and 2 tickets for the rodeo or carnival, depending upon where the mistake went, but those were the 2 mistakes we found. So you're inflated by 2 tickets. Using this is how many tickets, this is how much cash we charge for the tickets to calculate sales tax.
So you don't know exactly how many tickets were sold?
Oh no, I know exactly how many tickets were entered in and sold. As far as whether or not somebody properly accounted for in this sale, until we go through every single transaction, which is what we did, and that's how we got to the dollar amount. We know what the clerks are off. Now you want to back those out, you can. But how much time do you want to spend backing out these tickets? And that's assuming that every single one of those mistakes was a rodeo ticket. Because rodeo ticket is the only one that has a sales tax certification. We can go back and undo every single transaction, but that takes time. If people had done the daily audits as they were instructed to, with a cash countdown, and looking at the report that showed them how many tickets, how much cash...
We're given a report.
Electricity went out, so 3 of them couldn't get their report at the time, and there was all kinds of
That
things.
happened on Monday, and that was resolved by Monday at 7:30.
Okay, if you guys could meet right now and just print those out.
Candidly, I'm just going to print the reports out. All of the information is here, and it's out of my hands at this point.
No, you need to print the reports. Those reports, I've seen them. You need to specifically go through the report and tell Sheila how many tickets at this price.
It tells you that.
Just
Everything.
read
Will you highlight them for
Everything
us?
is broken.
Highlight the number of tickets in the total spreadsheet.
I will come back with the reports, and I will explain to the commission. If you guys feel that it is still confusing, then I will sit down. We've sat down on a number of occasions. Mr. Vedder was in a few of these, where we've gone through these reports and how they look. So I don't know how much more clearly I can explain it.
I would say just get the report to Sheila. If she has any questions, she can ask you.
Fair enough.
Dwayne, it isn't that easy. You can't read the reports, the ones
We've
I've
got
seen.
copies of those reports. Just,
I'll come back in at the end of the meeting, and then I can show you the reports at the end of that discussion.
okay, that sounds good. Thank you, guys. Touch base in a bit. Okay, 9 o'clock, we've got Scott Mines Emergency Management Citizen Core Guideline Update and Equipment Purchase. Is Scott out there?
Here.
Present. Morning, Scott.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. We
Great.
didn't get any freezing rain.
It's
Even better.
warm this morning.
It was. Couple things on my agenda this morning. Citizens Core Council guidelines. Our group met last week and talked about the passing of Rich Kezar, who was one of our members on that committee or council. And it brought it to attention that we don't have anybody from the fire service representing on our board. We have EMS and law enforcement and my office, Salvation Army, and all that kind of stuff. So we talked about making a change and dropping one of our law enforcement. We had 2 on there before, and adding a second, just a minute here, we called it a first responder community representative. So we're asking for a change. This is a form that's approved by the council or the commission. We're asking for a change to just change that 1 membership request from 2 law enforcement to 2 community first responder representatives.
And there'll still be one law enforcement?
There'll still be one law enforcement, yep. And that will cover all of our bases, like I said, in kind of all aspects of the emergency fields that group kind of deals with, so.
So the one with firefighting experience could be either like Aberdeen Fire and Rescue or rural,
Or
one of the rural
yep.
fire districts?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, any other questions for Scott?
That makes sense to me. I'll make a motion that we make that change to the policy.
Okay, motion by Sutton,
Second.
second by Feldheim. Any other discussion on that?
Do you have a replacement yet for Rich?
We don't. We're working on that.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of the change, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Perfect, thank you. The second item is a piece of equipment that we'd like to purchase for our drone program. This piece of equipment is an additional camera that will allow us to do nighttime type stuff. It's a thermal imaging camera. It's the same type of camera that the fire departments and the sheriff's office has, more particularly the fire departments, that allow us to see heat signatures and stuff like that. We visited with Lincoln County, who has this piece of equipment, and the vendor out of Sioux Falls that we're dealing with, and they're having outstanding luck in search and rescue missions with this piece of equipment. Again, we can see that heat signature through cornfields and stuff like that. I got some pictures. They didn't turn out very good. This was some pictures of a control burn they did down by Sioux Falls. The first two are the original, and the second two are the heat signature coming out. You can pass them around. Like I said, they didn't turn out where the darn on the print or coming off the printer. So again, this allows us to see at night. It'll allow us to increase our search and rescue capabilities. It has zoom capabilities, which we don't have right now. We have to digitally zoom on the computer to make that happen, where we would have it right in the camera system now. So it's not cheap though. The quote we have right now from the Sioux Falls company we deal with is $12,075.
How much was the drone again?
The drone, we've got a little over $5,000 invested in it right now.
So how much is the daytime camera, how much did that cost?
Well, the daytime camera came with the program, you know, with our original package, so I don't know exactly what that costs.
You know, cameras always that expensive?
Yeah. The fire department cameras, you know, just a small handheld, is, you know, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000. So I would take this out of my budget. My budget is actually sitting pretty good this year to allow me to do this. So I guess, like I said, requesting the little over $12,000 to purchase this.
Somebody at night that'll work?
What's that?
You're looking for somebody at night?
Yep. If you look on the one picture, you can actually see, you'll see these guys standing here, these firemen, and they actually show up, you know, in the dark of night. So, I've seen some videos of this stuff, and I apologize I couldn't download a video. I guess I put it on the big screen, but where they've been up 300 feet tracking deer. And it shows up as a nice, you know, spec.
I don't think we need to do that.
I agree. But just the, you know, the tracking capabilities to see a young child or something in a cornfield, it has some remarkable uses and things like that. So I've talked with our group. I thought maybe one of my deputies or the deputies is going to be here. This is something, like I said, we've been kind of pursuing all year. We did apply for a grant for this. We did not receive that grant through Basin Electric. So, like I said, I'm requesting this to come out of my budget for before the end of the year, and we move forward with this program.
Is this additional camera to the daytime camera, or
yes.
You just change them at night?
Yep.
Then is what you're doing on that drone?
Yep, exactly. And again, it can be used, you know, even in the daylight as a heat signature. It would pick up, you know, like I said, looking for a person in a cornfield or, you know, trees or whatever it may be. You know, it'll pick up that heat signature
in the daytime.
In the daytime, even. So, and like I said, I spoke with Lincoln County, who has this in place, and they're finding remarkable uses for this, whether it's search and rescue or, they had a runner, a law enforcement runner on him, and he ran into a tree grove, and they put the drone up, and was able to pick him out and watch the deputies walk right up to him. So, like I said, it's got multiple uses in the program, and, yeah.
Is that,
Another tool, huh?
Another tool.
is that company the sole provider of that?
They're all pretty much the same. If we would go back to Bismarck or anywhere, that's the same price no matter where. So I think the drone company actually sets those prices for the vendors, so.
Okay. Question?
As we expand Brown County doing things like this, and we have surrounding counties, do we have a fee that we charge to recap some of this? I realized, but we're the ones that are spending, so I mean, shouldn't we be reciprocated back somehow?
We haven't talked about that, and we have been out of the county. We've been up to Dickey County, North Dakota, on a missing child, here this summer, and we actually went to Ham County when they had an aircraft emergency. We spent a few hours down there. We never got off the ground down there. It ended up to be something else, but we actually got down there to assist. But we haven't talked about any fee structure. If that's something you want us to do, we can sure put something together, I guess, and
Something really rare, I don't think, help somebody out isn't the worst thing, but if it's quite often, then I think...
Yeah. And boy, here this summer we was busy as heck with it. We probably got 30 missions on the deal between training and actual, flights. And now here the last month and a half, it's been nothing. We haven't had anything. Thank goodness, knock on wood, that we haven't, had missing kids or something like that. But I can tell you, out of all the pieces of equipment, command trailers and CERT trailers and stuff, this has probably been the one that's been the most used in my office for equipment that the county owns. So it's been a great program. Like I said, we'd really like to keep expanding our capabilities with this. We understand that it's a large chunk of change, but we feel it has some great benefits to the drone program. So
I don't think there'd be anything wrong with giving some thought, Scott, to reimbursement from other government entities. They've got pools as well for mileage and time and use of equipment. Just give some thought to that and maybe have your crew put together something.
Yeah, the drone has a useful life with only a certain limited amount of time, and so some thought should be given to that.
Well, and when we purchased the drone, we were hearing rumors of the thermal imager, and this is, along with Larry's stuff, technology changes every day, just like a computer, we all know that. So the drone technology has been changing rapidly.
Well, within 5 years or so, we'll be looking for a different drone.
And that very well could be.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion if there's one out there.
Motion, didn't Dwayne make the motion?
I don't think on the drone.
No, not on this.
Or to buy the drone? Or to buy the camera?
No, not yet.
No, I'll make it then.
Okay, we got a motion by Fishback on the table to go ahead and approve the $12,075 for the thermal imaging camera for our drone.
Second it.
We got a second by Commissioner Sutton. Is there any other questions or comments on that? When do you think you'll be able to get it if you...
I'm hoping by the first of the year, so we can still put it in on this year's budget. It didn't sound like there was a little bit of paperwork on his end to get it licensed and stuff like that, but other than that...
I would expect that this would also have heat imaging people stuck in a blizzard in a car somewhere.
Absolutely, yep.
So there'd be another big advantage in the wintertime for having something like that.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay, motion carries.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you for bringing us
Thanks,
that.
Scott.
Have a good Thanksgiving holiday and a little bit of snow maybe on Thursday,
Safe to
so...
burn yet, or
Well, the snow's gone after the little bit of rain, so...
gotta wait for the next one, huh?
Be careful.
Sooner than you think.
I got 3 wood piles I wanna burn.
Well, there's people out there doing it, we had 3 of them yesterday, so...
Yeah, I should've did it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
You gonna call it in?
Let's not talk about it.
Thanks, Scott. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, Max, let's go to your list.
Minutes from November 15, General.
Move.
Moved by Sutton.
Second.
Seconded by Fishback. Any questions, corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay, motion carries.
Thanks.
Move.
Moved by Feldheim.
Second.
seconded by Fishback. Any questions on those? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Authorize advertising LED lighting project. This would be for the state's attorney, the sheriff, and the jail, what's left after phase 3.
I'll move that.
Motion by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Feldheim. Any questions on the lighting project?
This is a 2017 project, but if you award it now, they can get the materials ordered.
Sounds good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
There were plats, Lloyd, Winburn, Ochsner, and Roche.
Move.
Moved by Fishback,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Authorize advertising a hearing for a vacation of a plat. It's a Krause, and the hearing will be 8:45 on December 6th.
Move it.
Moved by Fishback,
Second.
seconded by Feldheim. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Abatements, Brecht and Padal.
Move.
Moved by Feldheim,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. Questions on the abatements? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Fair contract for Good Shepherd Lutheran Church for cleanup at the 2016 fair.
Move.
Moved by Feldheim,
Second.
seconded by Fishback. Any questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
And then authorize advertising ordinance 106. This is unique. Ordinance 103 had the range wrong in the final ordinance. It said 61 rather than 65. And since there are time frames with and effective dates for the ordinances, we just about have to do a new ordinance to correct that. So I think the legal notice was in the packet. So we need to authorize advertising for ordinance 106, which corrects the legal in ordinance 103.
I move.
Moved by Feldheim,
Second.
seconded by Fishback. Any questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Jerry, do you got anything for us today?
Just need an exec for personnel and legal.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel and legal
Can I add contracts onto that?
and contracts. We're gonna hit the
Move.
bill three.
Trifecta.
Yep, three.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, seconded by Sutton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. We'll be in exec.
Help us out the cupcakes, everybody.
Ooh.
They're rum shot.
Ooh.
Okay, we are back in session. I do not believe we have any, there was no action as a result, right?
Okay.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the regular agenda. You didn't have anything else, right, Gary, Max? Okay. Did we come up with some numbers for the treasurer's office, Derek?
We have reports. There's a copy for everybody. And I have a copy for the treasurer as well. Well, I'm gonna, oh, I thought I was getting down, sorry.
Thank you.
Three left there, right? All right, in the report, you have each, this is a full event audit report. So this shows everything for all events individually, and then the very last page is going to be the grand total sum of all of the events. So in the interest of time and brevity, we'll flip to the last page for the grand total. You'll notice there are splits on horizontals and verticals. So we're going to look at the verticals first. First column is going to be comp tickets. Second column is going to be credit card tickets. The reason it says Brown County Fair is because we acted as our own credit card provider. Cash is going to be cash sales. Credit or check is going to be check sales. And then you're going to have the total live tickets, include any voids and or refunds. Then the very last grouping is going to be your cumulative total. Live tickets are tickets that are in the system that were physically printed or issued, via mobile or via print. Transactions is just as it sounds. That's how many transactions make up that number. Now, we'll pick the easiest of the three to look at so that way we can see if there's any discrepancy. Most complicated, I'm sorry. Let's look at the Dakota Stampede Rodeo. That's our most complex. That's going to be on page 1.
Why don't we go Carnival, that's the easiest.
It is, but I want to use the most complex because there's some questions of needing to know the level of each ticket and what was sold.
Okay.
So let's look at the second bold grouping, middle part of the page. You'll see that the Dakota Stampede Rodeo, that's the single day, that's going to be the Monday. The reason we're also going to pick Monday is because of the duplicate system that was run on Tuesday. So if you look down the first grouping on the left-hand side, it shows the classification of the ticket. Monday Adult, Monday Adult, Monday Adult Bundle, that's if they purchased the package for the 2 days. So this system even tracked if we did bundles of a package Monday and Tuesday ticket, so we know exactly how many of those we sold.
That cost me $5.
And I'll wait till next returns.
So there were 2,574 Monday night rodeo tickets issued total.
Correct. On 1,995 transactions. Sorry, 1,095 transactions.
I just asked him, this is our total rodeo tickets, the 2,574.
Now again, the verticals are divided exactly the same way. You've got comp, you've got Brown County Fair, which is equivalent to the credit card transaction, you have the cash sales, you have the check sales, you have any total voids and refunds, and then you have the net total on the right-hand side. You'll notice that at every price point level, it has the specific number of tickets sold, the specific number of tickets voided if there were any applicable, any discounts that were given due to the discount for the purchase of the package, giving you the subtotal, and then any refunds that may have occurred. So we know at every single price point level what we sold, what the net amount was, and then, or the gross amount, and then the net at the end. Now when you look at the bottom of that section, you'll see service fees, you'll see delivery fees, you'll see comp fees. Okay? One line is going to be the credit card fee, and one line is going to be the service fee. If we look at the credit card section, which is Brown County Fair column 3 going from left to right in that section, you'll see additional fees of $195.85. You carry that line all the way over to the end, you'll see that line carries over, but it does not appear in any of the boxes, either cash or check. That is your credit card processing fee. When you look at the service fee above, you'll see that that has a number in every subsequent column going left to right. There's a number in credit card, there's a number in cash, there's a number in check. That's going to be your service fee issued by ShowClick. Now this is a revenue report, so this shows the total revenue charged to the customer. The charge to us is in a different, that's in the billing side. And then you have the grand totals under each subset, so you know exactly what your total credit card is, exactly what your total check is, exactly what your total cash is.
Thing you need, a slip.
And that occurs for every single event.
See, there's another report that shows the fees that we paid.
The fees are going to be in the billing statement, which will be separate. Yep. This is just a revenue report of the event audit for what we charge the customers, which was what we used to move money to the revenue accounts and also to identify sales tax. The discrepancy numbers that I gave you earlier are total revenue discrepancy numbers. So we'll take those numbers and subtract them from the grand total numbers, which are on the last page.
So the grand total that you show is $696,068.06.
That's the grand total for money that was run through the system, yes. Cash, check, and credit card. The comps have no value to them.
And keep in mind, anything we sold up here, we deposited daily.
So it's not in Treasurer's Trust?
It's not in Treasurer's Trust.
Do you know how much that was?
Sheila has it.
So
Because that would
so
come
if
out
we
of
had,
it.
Because she got 540, 560, what was the number she did?
$565,619.
So this is 696, so the difference there should be what you guys deposited, right?
We didn't do that much.
And then we take out the shortage and then fees?
And I believe the fair office deposited daily also.
There should be total revenue. We did not sell out of the fair office. There were a couple of isolated transactions, but we did not deposit daily. But we did deposit weekly before.
So if we take the 696,068 minus what was deposited,
Just the cash and checks.
right,
No tracking on the credit card.
It's in
right,
there
but that's
already.
still money that we took in, so.
Right.
Right.
So we subtract that and the fees,
And,
the difference is what we're short from
right.
what this number shows.
And that exact struggle is exactly why this took so long. There was no uniform policy, and that's not necessarily to point a finger at anyone in particular. It's just there was no uniformity on how we got from point A to point B. There were a couple of different systems being used in a couple of different places.
So based on what we heard here today, if we take the 696,086.86 or 06
Right.
minus what was already deposited, minus the fees that the county had to pay,
Correct.
that is the number that Sheila would use.
That's the number that she should use. The number that I gave you today
But
was
she
cash and
needs
check.
the audit is going to ask, okay, you had 10 carnival tickets at $28 a piece. That's $280. They're going to need that breakdown,
They have it. It's right here.
okay?
Like if we look at the carnival, there's, under the credit card section, they were, sorry, apparently I have to deal with the fact that I've officially grown old enough to need reading glasses. 1732 is what we sold for the credit card, for credit card transactions. Then if we look at cash sales, there's 866 cash sales, and then there's 749 tickets sold under check. So
Does she need to know by how we sold it, or just total number?
Just total number.
Total number.
Like on the
So
carnival,
use the last column is what you would use.
the carnival,
Mhm.
the 17, I can't read this.
32.
1732
Mhm.
minus the void is 1731.
Correct.
For one void carnival ticket, why didn't they just take away $28 rather than $134.75?
124.
124.
24.75.
Because that's all refunds total. That's not a void. A void is not a refund, because the void and the refund are done independently. And the reason that's done is because, with the exact example that I used about the credit card and the cash transaction, I can go in and void the credit card transaction to make that ticket not be able to be utilized, but that's not going to issue the refund against the credit card, because the person took the cash out of the drawer to resell the carnival ticket.
Okay, so
With
if you
cash.
take
You have to
the
look at
total at
refunds
the
and
end,
voids
the
separately.
34.9, let's see, we don't, the 34.93 times 28,
It's not that
correct?
simple, because you have to account for the fees as well, too.
no, this is just the ticket price, though.
Right, but in the beginning, when there was the mistake that was made for the first 4 hours, where they were double charging on the service fee, and we had to go back and refund that, that was done as a blanket refund. It wasn't done as an individual refund on a line item. So we have to look at the gross numbers. We have to look at the total numbers. Now, going forward, because we corrected that mistake in the first 4 hours, we'll be able to use that same method. But because of those first 2 days, or first 4 hours, where they had to go back and refund based on a percentage, because they double charged for the online. Now, this is all tickets. This is box office and online.
Right.
So,
So is it true to say she sold, $3,346 worth of $28 carnival tickets, and that cost her $93,591?
correct.
And
So-
then only 48 tickets were sold at the $33, which was the $15.90, or $39?
Correct. And then the adjustment occurs down below in the fees. If we were to go just based on the straight fee of what we know the fee schedule to be, that's actually going to be a higher revenue than it should be, because of the fact that mistake those first 4 hours. It doesn't affect a ton, but it affects enough to skew the numbers. But your totals should be the same, regardless.
Well, it looks to me like this provides the information that both Sheila and legislative audit should need, unless I'm missing something. Because it has the breakdown by tickets.
But which number does she take? I would take
Take the grand total.
the 3346 times 28, and the 48 times 33,
Not gonna match.
and add those together, add the ticket so I had that many carnival tickets and that much money.
It's not gonna match because you had different price point levels based on the price of...
That's why you need to have a recap sheet for Sheila showing how many carnival tickets, what's the revenue for the number of carnival tickets sold.
How much time do we want to spend doing that? Because in order to do that, I'm literally going to have to go through every single transaction.
You can't do that off this report?
No, because nobody followed the policy. I'm not pointing the finger in any one direction. There were mistakes at a couple of different levels, but some mistakes were more egregious than others. So unless I go in and physically add up every single transaction, which is the whole purpose of using a system like this, it's not going to balance. So what we do is we use the grand total for the numbers we know we have, because that's how much money we know we should have based on what was entered into the system. And we work backwards from those numbers. Then we figure, that's how you're going to figure out what you're off in each individual area. We know your credit cards are going to be spot on because there's nothing that can be manually manipulated within that. The percentage...
Except
the refunds are even accounted for in here. That's why you use the total number. If the daily audit sheets were printed every day from the end of day summary report from each individual clerk, we would have been able to identify where we were off on a daily basis. That's a much easier thing to try to go back because you're only going through about 100 transactions as opposed to a couple thousand. Now add that into the fact that we had about 1,500 transactions where there were no names provided. That's going to make another level of difficulty because now you have to try to guess, because you're not just going to sell one ticket to the grandstand for no name provided. You're going to have 6 people selling or 4 people selling at that point across that. So if they all sell the same amount of ticket and you're off by one set of single day tickets, you got to go through approximately 47 to 48 transactions to narrow down where that individual mistake happened.
I'm kind of comparing this. We had 11 vote centers all using the same password for 16,489 ballots, and they all came out exactly right.
How did you audit on a daily basis to know? Did you ever give somebody a second ballot?
Nope.
Okay. I gave you a second ticket by processing a credit card refund, or a credit card transaction, and then I charged you a cash refund.
I don't think Kessler's would have done that.
It wasn't Kessler's that we had the problem. We have one issue that we can identify at Kessler's that way, and we have one issue at Ken's we can identify that way. It did happen. We even had one of the people that worked during the week that did it.
They gave cash refund.
They took the cash out of the drawer, processed the cash, because they could not refund the credit card.
To me, that's lack of training.
It's not lack of training, it's a control system is what it is. If we give everybody the ability to refund a ticket, you are now giving approximately 39 people the ability to make an arbitrary decision on whether or not they refund the ticket. And if I have one clerk that refunds a ticket that's supposed to be non-refundable, and another person in another area finds out that this person got a refund, you just now created an arbitrary refund situation. It's a control system.
Now, the funds that Sheila holds, the $565,000 odd dollars,
Right.
is she holding those funds? Are there service fees in those funds she's supposedly holding? Are they someplace else?
More than likely, everything came in one lump sum. So it's credit card, it's sales and service fees for cash and check. How they account for the credit cards, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's in there, if that's in Treasurer's Trust or if that's not.
So how would you know? I mean,
I don't know.
because it's $27,000. I mean, how are you going to determine if this 565 is in there, or where's that money at? I guess is my question. I mean...
And I would respond with an alternate question. If you have to go through 4 steps to generate a sale, which generates on this report, would you find that to be more factual, or would you find an arbitrary decision that's written down? And having 3 different systems, Max is just, the auditors just stated they deposited daily. We got a check, a massive check from Ken's and Kessler's, and then we had credit cards coming in daily with no real tracking. This is the only tracking mechanism that links all of those. And yet this is the one that's being disputed. That's what I guess I find ironic.
Well, I guess I'm not disputing it. I just wanted to know where the $27,000 lied, if it went to a different account or if it went into the treasurer's report is all I was asking. I mean, I'm not questioning that part, but I want to know where that money went.
Honestly, I don't know. We engaged both groups. We engaged a lot of people in picking this program. We engaged a lot of people in which credit card company we were going to use. We gave them authorization and access to the credit card system, We even sent the daily settlement reports directly to representatives in their office. Where it went from there, I can't say, because that was wired directly into the bank account. That did not come back in a check, that was not vouchered out, that was a direct transfer back into the checking account.
I think Avalon and ShowClix has billed Sheila for some of those fees.
That's kind of where my question was, is how did we determine how that got
I think-
established?
So the 565 does not include ShowClix fees. They've already taken
I
theirs.
don't believe they do.
Which 565?
That's sitting in treasurer's trust, because that's our whole goal here, is
I don't
to
know.
figure out exactly what that amount comprises so she can move it.
I can't believe ShowClix didn't just keep their fee,
No,
did
they
they?
deposited it and
No.
then withdrew it from our checking account.
Yeah,
They've already got
But there's
it.
still a record of that transaction, I mean, we know exactly what that is.
and those bills were vouchered out, so there's a record of it in the voucher system. The reason that we chose to have all of the money transferred is because of the issues that we had with getting the money with some previous providers, so.
So if you add up the ticket sales subtotal row and the last column, total sales, the 95,000 for Carnival, the 20,000 for the first night of rodeo, that's gonna get you, according to the last page, 658.
Correct.
So we need to figure out how much, if Sheila's got it, was from the auditors, because right now we're sitting, it's 658,000 in tickets is what we sold, and we've got 565,000 sitting there. We gotta,
130,000 short.
yeah. So we gotta figure out how much of that was fees and how much of that was, do you have any idea, Sheila, how much
Oh,
auditors
yeah,
office?
we gave those all to you, but, yeah, I can't, that isn't gonna do me any good. Oh, sorry. But, I mean, every day, money would flow into our bank account. We had no idea what it was for. It would just flow in all the time. Then periodically, money would flow out. It would say refunds, or it would say these fees or those fees. We had no way of knowing anything. It just flew in and out of the account each day. It said, we got a message from ShowClix that said, this is what you're going to get, and that matched Avalon. That was the extent of what we were able to check. Then you sold tickets here at the office, those were receipted in. They sold stuff out at their office, those were receipted in. And you've already
I
receipted
thought
in
the
the money.
office didn't do any.
Sure they did.
We had minimal amounts.
Sure they
We had like one church.
And then all your
But not
rodeo
on a
money
daily
is
basis.
receipted in. You've got about $23,000 of convenience fees that you receipted in. So, I mean, there's a whole array of money that flowed in and out without direction. I mean,
So
there's...
before we can figure out what you have left, we need to know what's already accounted for.
Yeah, and we gave you that printout from Doreen. She had written all that stuff out for you on a legal piece of paper, and we gave you all that. But
Can we get that again?
We can tell you what went in and out of the bank account, but as to why it went in, or what it was for, or whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is it went in the bank account. And that's what we ended up with, the $565,000. After we moved the money for the rodeo tickets, after we moved the money for the carnival, after we moved the money for the fees, what you told us to move on that printout, we moved that money, and this is what's left.
So I would ask a question. If you said you moved the money for the rodeo, but you had no reports, how did you identify how much you moved?
Rachel gave me a report.
Remember, we met, we had a conference call.
asking.
We wanted a breakdown of how to do it,
Just
because it had sat there for a couple months, and finally, we gave her some direction, and...
Yes, and I have that printed thing that you gave me that said what I was supposed to do, and we receipted in accordingly. So money has been moving, you know, but...
Is this the legal sheet you're talking?
Yes.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get, do you have time right now, Derek, if we adjourn and meet Sheila?
I'd
We
have
get
to
a
get
couple
Doreen in
commissioners?
here too, because she's the
That's
one
fine.
that did
Yep.
keep me.
I would like to have it on the record because we've had a number of these meetings off the record and we seem to not be able to come to a consensus. So if that's the decision of the group, I will go with the decision of the group, but I will just voice my concern.
Well, then we need, if you want it on the record, tell us how that 560, I mean, I got your thing here, but how are we gonna make it match?
This is a lot, we're making this a lot more complicated than it needs to be.
Okay, lay it on us.
You know what your credit card fees are, okay? Take your total amount for your credit card fees, which were given in the daily supplemental report, so you know every day how much your credit card revenue came in. Add up all your credit card revenue, which is going to be your fees and your sales.
Which
and
column is that?
That's going to be the Brown County column at the very end, but you have to add it up for the entire thing. If you're not going to do your supplemental audits every day, you're going to have to deal with the end result, which is the very last column. All of your credit card, when you add up the 70-something days of transactions that came through, that number should match the Brown County Fair column for the grand total on page 404 at the very end. Because all that transfer is how much did you charge the customer in the system, and how much money is supposed to come to the county. You start there. Now you look at the very last two
So what do you have for credit card fees, $9,495?
No, that's going to be your, yes, that's going to be your credit card fees.
$9,495.
But that's only the credit card fee that you charge the customer. Your reports that come in on your daily supplements is going to be a record of all credit card charges to the customer, which are going to include everything you see above. So it's the very bottom number there.
The $392,000.
The $392,121. Hold on, you're going to look at the grand total. It's going to be $383,808.56 because you got to account for refunds. So when you add up all of your credit card reports that were CC'd to Doreen as well, and Sheila, that's the number you should come up with when you add them all together.
$383,808.56.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that's one audit. Now you got to look at cash and check. That's going to be the audit that was done based on the paperwork that I gave you where we identified what was short and what were long. That number should be within there. If there's not, the only thing we have to look at is we'll have to go back and audit the daily sheets for the auditor's office because of the central logins. Not an accusation, it's just a logical step that we're going to have to go back and look at.
So under cash, you're taking the $189,708, or you're taking the $194,734?
It'd be the subtotal at the very end. It'll be the last column, like in cash.
$198,708.50?
189.
189,708.
And then the checks, you're taking the same one, $122,551?
Correct. But you have to add them together because there are some discrepancies within the checks as well.
So it's the 189,708,
You got to add the two numbers together.
that one?
Add which two numbers, the checks and cash?
The check and the cash, yes. Now, what you're going to find is your cash numbers are going to be off because of the about dozen records that we found of somebody making a mistake on a credit card sale, refunding the cash back, and then giving the customer the cash, which they then in turn used to pay for the tickets. Because you're creating two transactions with only one revenue source. You have one credit card transaction, but you have two sets of tickets. So your cash is going to come up short unless you refund the cash on the second transaction.
Okay, so when we get to our total, which columns show what we need to refund, Eric? Is it,
When you say refund.
well, we're at the $696 once we add those three together. So say again what you need to add in there, or to delete from that to get back down to what's in Treasurer's Trust.
If you're looking at just checks and cash, you'll have to deduct the, I don't have those reports with me, the ones that I gave you, the summary sheet on top. This right there. Yeah. You'll have to subtract the 671 and then the 18, that's right there, Tom. No, that one right to your left. Right on top.
$18.59.
Oh, that one there.
But the cash and checks from our office and Ken's and Kessler's, or not our office, because we knew the number of tickets sold, but Ken's and that's in Treasurer's Trust.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is the report that's in the system is every single transaction that was ever entered, right or wrong. The sheet that I gave you is the delta difference between what was entered into the system and what we actually physically have for cash and checks. So that means we have $671.59 in mistakes across the exterior outlets, and we have about $1,859 in mistakes the week of. And part of those are due to the fact that we can't track the exact nature of where those mistakes came. And I'll use a specific example with Sarah. Sarah worked in both locations. I cannot identify specifically on two of the days when her shift started.
Why should that matter if you're getting a report off of that computer?
Because she's selling under the same ID, and if everybody was selling under her ID that day, I don't know what sales were actually hers and what sales went to the other people in the office.
It doesn't matter.
It absolutely matters, because that's your audit trail.
It doesn't
I
matter.
Yes, it
guess
does
I don't
matter.
understand why, if the report tells you how many tickets were sold at each price, why you don't come up with a number there that you're accounting for. Add on what you earned in fees, subtract off what you did in refunds, and we should be pretty darn close, shouldn't we? I mean, does it have to be this difficult?
Well, we need to know,
What I'm saying is
we
if you want
deduct
a
the
perfect
discrepancies,
report-
but then we need to know what auditors, I mean, that's one of the numbers we're missing. We gotta minus off what's already been accounted for from this report, that's
And what-
already been deposited.
And what I'm saying is, if you want me to give you an exact to-the-penny number of what to deposit in each
I
and every
didn't say
account...
you had to, we talked about 2,500 approximately, Dwayne has said, between the errors, but I have to have some kind of accounting of, you know, were 50 reserve tickets sold at this price, were 80
You have that.
general? Well, then, why, if we have that, why can't we get to a number at the end compared to what we had? We already gave you what's receipted in, this is what's left, this is the number we gotta get to.
Because I've explained that to you. We've had multiple transactions where somebody sold 4 tickets in the system.
Yeah, but that's not gonna make $26,000 worth of difference. We're talking about $2,500 worth of difference.
I'm talking about the 2,500. The 26,000, that's everything that I have on my side matches.
Well, Dwayne
So
already
the only-
said if it gets to 2,500, we're gonna leave that up to legislative audit, but we're not that far off on stuff.
Well, I mean, what I know is we've got $565,000 in treasurer's trust that we don't know how to.
Right, because we've accounted for all the money that came in from different outlets.
Mhm.
Everything is off. This is just,
So what makes up that number?
This is the tickets, and part of that is the fee.
Okay?
So we don't know the difference between what's an actual ticket and what's the fee and the processing fee. Because those
The
fees
refund.
those dollars are taxed.
So is the amount that came treasurer's office, 45,322, has that already been taken care of? That's what's on your legal sheet you gave me? Auditor's office, 45,322?
that's receipted in. That's not a part of this number.
But that's gotta come off of the report, because that's
Right,
a
that's what we
big chunk
said,
of what's
yeah.
making us...
It's not going to come off the report because you have 9 different transactions that follow into that. You have massive checks being paid at the back end from your 2 outlets. You have your credit card fees, which are reconciled daily, but they don't necessarily clear daily. American Express transactions can take from 7 to 10 days to clear, and Visa and MasterCard has from 48 to 72 hours to get their money to you. So I can have a transaction that occurs, and a deposit transfer that occurs on, let's say, the 17th, that includes some transactions from the 16th, some transactions from the 15th, and a few from the 14th.
But why is
But
that
your
important?
report here has got $140,000 more than what's in treasurer's trust. So all we need to do today is figure out what the difference is between your report and what's in treasurer's trust.
I
We've
would think it's a
established
matter of
that
how it's
these are the
accounted for.
discrepancies.
Mhm.
We know part of auditors is part of it, because that's already been deposited, and we need to know what else it is that makes the difference between these two. And yes, if the discrepancies are a little bit of it, that's fine.
I didn't put the numbers in the account, so I don't know what this is.
That's why I'm asking the rest of the crew here,
But
so...
I can't give you a report that matches up to the way that it was accounted for. This is what went through the system, whether it's mistakes or not. You have the individual packets that show you the cash and check portion of it. We have the daily transfers that show the credit cards. When you add those 3 up, you're going to get to your grand total at some point, and you're going to figure out where your discrepancy is. But a discrepancy of that kind is not good. We didn't give away $126,000 worth of tickets, and your comps are accounted for in the top. So the mistake isn't here. We've identified the mistakes within the system from the clerk. The only place that's left is how we internally accounted for it. Now we have to figure out where the mistake occurred and in what department. That's where we're at.
Okay, is the best route to go from here, this probably could go a morning, should we continue on, or do we want to have a committee and sit down with treasurer's office, fair office, and what are you guys thinking?
That works for me.
Okay. Dwayne, would you be available if we adjourn, you and
Yep.
I stay in
Yep.
as fair liaisons and...
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other issues to come before the commission this week? Any from the folks in attendance, Larry, anybody? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
second by Feldheim, all in favor say aye. Opposed nay, motion carries. We'll take a 5-minute break and then reconvene just informally with our fair and treasurer.